going to get on to our very special guest. And it's going to take a while to introduce her because she's an amazing person. She is an AFI Best Actress nominee and People's Choice Award winner, who is best known as the star of the 1980s hit classic TV series Too Close for Comfort, on which she portrayed Sarah Rush, the on-screen daughter to Emmy legend Ted Knight, on a show that today remains a massive hit in worldwide syndication and with millions of fans. An international star of the stage and screen, including over 250 TV shows and films in 27 countries. She was recently seen on HBO's Curb Your Enthusiasm, Variety's Power of Comedy, and the Kelsey Grammer Comedy Hour. In 2014, she received the Golden Halo Lifetime Achievement Award from the Southern California Motion Picture Council. Also recently, she went behind the camera and directed the motion picture It's My Decision, which is now on the Feature Film Festival circuit. One of television's most popular sex symbols in the history of the entertainment industry, and with her generous and loving kind heart and soul, she has time and again proven her countless theatrical talents and abilities beyond her elegant exterior beauty. As an actress, writer, director, comedian, and talk show host, she has utilized her public persona for the betterment of the artistic community and every community, locally, statewide, across the country, and around the world. As an advocate for the rights, protection, and well-being of women and children, and all good parents and people everywhere, she is also a teen mentor and an inspirational public speaker. Her articles have been published in magazines like People, Us, A&E's Biography Magazine, The Huffington Post, editor and publisher, and many more. For me personally, as the founder and executive director of the Classic TV Preservation Society, a formal 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the positive social influence of classic television shows, I am extremely proud and blessed to have her as a member of our distinguished board of directors. She is presently writing a new book about spiritual recovery, and which will also include a collection of humorous Hollywood horror stories detailing how she triumphantly transformed various tragedies into comedy, a few minutes of which she will now share with us. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is my great privilege and honor to introduce to you one of the most lovely, beautiful, down-to-earth, unaffected, unassuming, and infinitely intelligent, sweet, and kind human beings that I have ever known in any industry, Lydia Cornell.
This is my future husband. That is the most beautiful intro I've ever heard. Oh my God, I hope someone got it on tape. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm a recovering sex symbol and withdrawal from cleavage. And I believe all human suffering is caused by Victoria's Secret. I was mistaken for a hooker by my mother and the police on my way to an Entourage audition a few years ago to play my former self. And I'm not spiritually evolved enough yet to stop dressing like a hooker, but I did try turtleneck on the other day. Because you can't get a job in Hollywood without lap dancer on your resume. That's the writers, not the actors. I'm not kidding. I'm actually writing a book called Venus. I wrote a movie for women called Venus Conspiracy. And it's about a plot to keep us thin and insecure. So we all know that already, right? But I'm mad that Caitlyn Jenner's getting all the parts that I'm up for. She's older than me. Thank you for laughing. Herbie, that was so sweet and beautiful. Thank you. I'm honored, but I can't live up to that. I'm not,
You already have.
Thank you.
Right, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Herbie is wonderful, and I want to thank him so much for what you've done. Because I think classic TV is amazing and fun, and there's a nostalgia craze going on right now. And Soup Nazi, Larry Thomas, and I took a lot of pictures together, and I have them on my wall. I have your poster on my wall. Seinfeld's my favorite show to this day.
We got to get you up. We're going to talk a little bit to you now.
Yeah.
Even though it's the 90s, but still. We'll bring into the 80s.
What a great birthday. I'm really happy that you all came. All these beautiful, I love everyone in the room. Gary, my friend, beautiful TV writer. This is Gary Markowitz,
yes.
Brilliant writer. And Joshua Goodwin, a handsome young actor. Shar, and Jane, thank And my son is lurking around the bookcases over there. And Michael Steindl, the most amazing videographer and computer tech guy in the world. I just have to give credit to Ernie Ferrino also, my favorite director, who directed me in the epic Monsters, which was a cult horror show I did in the 80s, I think. 90s?
You did it in the 80s.
It's too long.
Anyway, it was in the 80s, but I was in the 90s.
We already knew it was a cult. Yeah.
But anyway, I love show business. And I always wanted to be a Jewish male comic, but my parents weren't supportive. So this girl thing, having to play a sex symbol, it was really bizarre because I'm a creative, I'm a writer, and I'm writing a book called Hiding My Brain in My Bra. It's about being a woman in hell, navigating, and horror stories. It's actually humiliating adventures in spiritual growth. And one of the chapters is called Raising Aliens, Life with Boys. So I raised 3 boys and 2 dogs, including my husband. And they were all going through puberty at the same time. And so it was really an adventure. I just went through a divorce. It's been a couple of really rough years. My mother just fractured her vertebrae. My stepfather just ruptured his appendix, and I've been taking care of them in Lancaster. I don't know if anyone knows where that is. But it's pretty far, and so I've been kind of in limbo right now. So the book's on hold for a couple months until I get it ready, and then I'll be back here next year for the book release. But anyway, so let's talk.
Can I come over and talk?
Yeah, come over. Thanks, Herbie.
Nice hand for Lydia.
Thank you.
Let's start out, how you got involved. How you came to Los Angeles, what inspired you to be an actress.
Oh, Haley Mills. I hate to betray my age, but the Moon Spinners, Eli Wallach and Haley Mills and the Moon Spinners, and actually Disney. Walt Disney, going to Disneyland. When I was
Trouble with
5. Angels? Yeah, Trouble with Angels. The Parent Trap, the original Parent Trap. You guys are too young to remember, probably, but. And my whole life I wanted to, I think the people who come to California to become actors are not very whole, sorry to say. We have a lot of demons. I think it's kind of a way to seek the adoration of strangers. So I was looking for something bigger, I had a very critical mother, and I love her right now so much. But I just think I just had to escape. It was an escapist desire.
So what was one of the first shows you did? I mean, you did a couple things before Too Close for Comfort.
Yes, I was sitting in La Scala restaurant in Beverly Hills, and I was on a date with an agent. I got picked up by an agent
There's
somewhere.
a movie title, right?
Yeah, a date with an agent, yeah. I'm more afraid of agents than serial killers. But I was on a date, and there was Fred Astaire, Natalie Wood, and Aaron Spelling, and Fred Astaire, Natalie Wood, and Robert Wagner at the front table at La Scala. And as I walked out, Aaron Spelling stopped me, and he said, "Would you come in and audition tomorrow for a TV show that we have?" And it was called Bad Cats, that Michelle Pfeiffer ended up doing. Do you remember?
Was it before Charlie's Angels?
Yes, it was.
Or shortly after?
Charlie's Angels was still on. Michelle Pfeiffer was.
It's probably like 78 or something.
Yeah, he was luring her to do TV.
Okay.
So she went on and did this series, and she got the part. But I came in and I read for Kathy Henderson, and I got a part on Love Boat, my first part ever. And it was to play shuffleboard, and I had one line, and I looked right in the camera, and the director went, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You don't look in the camera. You're breaking the fourth wall." And I was so nervous wearing a bikini. And Artie Johnson and Audrey Meadows was in the episode.
Awesome. Well, then, but did you do plays in high school and stuff?
Yes, I did a lot.
So you
of
were
plays.
theatrically trained in stage?
I played the torchbearer in Othello. My best friend in high school was a gay guy named Monroe Mendelsohn. And when the producers of Too Close for Comfort took me to lunch to say, "Do you have any crazy friends?" I said, "Monroe Mendelsohn." And I told them some anecdotes about how we used to play the kazoo in St. Patrick's Cathedral and wear paisley bell-bottoms. We went to Scarsdale High in New York, and we were in every play together. He played Oslickson to my Petra in Enemy of the People. And we were in lots of plays in high school, Scarsdale High. And they decided to name Monroe, Jim Bullock's character Monroe, And my friend never spoke to me again.
Never got any residuals from her. That's probably-
Yeah.
Well, so okay, so how did then the Too Close for Comfort audition happen?
Oh God. It was in the Comedy of Errors. May I put this down for a minute?
Don't show the label.
Really? Well, okay. It was raining in Hollywood. I had to take a bus to Metro Media, KTLA. We were filming at KTLA. And I had to meet, it would have been Arnie Sultan, who created Get Smart. And two other men were in the room, and I was the last woman, the last girl that they saw that day, and I took a bus to get there. It never rains in LA. Sorry, my phone's ringing. Very rude. Oh, a birthday wish. So I was bedraggled, and I was wearing a hair, I don't know why. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. I'll say that part of it. So I go in, and they said I was late. I couldn't come in, and the secretary said, "There's one more girl here," and Arnie Sultan picked his head out, and he went, "She looks the part, let her come in." And I went into this brightly lit room, and I read, and I was really nervous. I was wearing a leather sweater, and tight jeans, and there was one line in the script that said, "Sarah gives Dad a raspberry." So the line was, "We're two very sophisticated young women. If you don't think that we're grown up enough, so there." And I handed him a raspberry like that. I went, "So there." And Arnie Sultan goes, what the F is this? What are you giving me here? I said, "I'm giving you a raspberry. I'm giving Dad a raspberry." You don't know what a raspberry is? A Bronx cheers. Come on, everyone do one right now. 1, 2, 3. I can't even,
I didn't know that's what it was.
I want to spit on the mic.
I don't know either.
You really didn't?
Ours failed.
Well, we're talking
Rochester,
about.
New York. I guess we don't do raspberries
I
in
don't think
Rochester.
anyone's used that in 10 years.
Yeah, you haven't used that saying in 10 years.
Not personally.
Raspberry beret, Prince.
Well,
that's
a
all.
raspberry apparently is that sound. And they thought, "Oh my God, she's so naive. This is the character." It was almost out of and they went, "Oh my God." And I didn't know they were thinking that night. But they said, "Can you be at the network tomorrow morning? Tony Thomopoulos are going to be in the main office of the network." And I went, "Yeah." So I go in wearing a virginal white flowered dress. And all the callback other girls that were called back were wearing skin tight, their nipples showing and skin tight shorts. And I was like a virgin. The character was a very naive, virginal sex symbol, I guess. So I read with Ted Knight, and I did that line where "it isn't true," something like that. And right on the spot, they told me I got the part in the network meeting. And it was up at the top executive offices where Schubert Theater used to be. Remember? Yeah. So it felt really great. And then Deborah Von Valkenburg came over to me, and she said, they already cast her. They cast Jackie. She said, did you say your real name was Kornilov? That's my real last name, Lydia Cornell. Lydia Natasha Kornilova would be the Russian pronunciation. I said, "Yeah, Lydia Kornilov, but I don't have a stage name yet. I don't know. It's too long to spell Kornilov." And she goes, "That's weird, because I work for a Gregory Kornilov in New York City." And I went, because she telexes him every day. We lived in Holland that year. And I said, "That's my dad. She worked for my father." So Deborah worked for my dad, and that was such a coinky-dink. God shot. So it was meant to be.
Now, and the show was a hit immediately.
It was immediately a hit, yeah.
Because they were looking for like a companion series for Three's Company, correct? And you guys really.
You would know that more than I. You're the historian.
Well, I would say yeah. I'm taking a guess. But yeah, I'd say yes.
Companion show, yeah.
Right, and then it was also the year of or the time of Farrah Fawcett. Really, it was 10 years later or whatever. But everybody
She was
wanted
in the 70s, right?
Right.
Yeah, we were
But-
the 80s.
But everyone is still. She brought glamour back to the small screen.
And winged hair, like an aircraft carrier.
Right. So, and then you started really becoming the center of the show. Now, was that an issue for?
Yes, it was a big issue. Oh my God.
For who?
Well, I hate to speak ill of the deceased, and I love Ted. But Ted had, it was his show. He was the star. And every time I was on the cover of a magazine, he would come to work in a bad mood, and it was kind of an issue. The network used me to promote the show in bikinis and sex symbol posters, and I was always in all fours on a, in a sequin bathing suit or something. And then they would put my picture on the cover of a magazine in a bikini, and Ted came to work one day and he goes, "I'm the star of the show," and he threw it at me. So I had a very tense relationship with him for a while.
For how long?
A couple years. It was really painful.
Now you would think that, I mean, since you contributed to the success of the show, and that was it in the top 10?
Yeah, it was the top 10 the first
Well, it was
couple years.
It was a pretty big hit, and then it left and it went to syndication, and then it changed. But you would still think that he would have appreciated that you brought.
He did. I love him. I mean, we had a
It must have
love-hate
been very hard.
relationship. Yeah, he was like a real dad to me, and I have to say that all we would do all day is laugh. We would have these rehearsals. John Ritter was next door, and McLean Stevenson was doing a series on the other side of the soundstage, and we were on Norman Lear's soundstage, where All in the Family was done initially, and Solid Gold was across the street at KTLA. Ted and I got through it. We had a lot of weird. There was one horrible incident on the Merv Griffin show, which is hilarious. Oh my God. Ted was extremely fun on the set. He would make me laugh, but I would always look at his forehead because I was scared to look him in the eye. And he was down on his toes to get into my line of vision, and I kept getting taller and taller. And then I was extremely scared of not being pretty enough in those days. It's a really vain business. It's ridiculous. But
Not being pretty.
no, it was crazy. It was like when you're given that much pressure to be pretty. The producers caught me carrying a taco, a burrito, and a bag of M&Ms one day. And they go, "Don't you know you're a sex symbol? You can't eat starch." In those days, it was called starch, not carbs. And all the food went flying, and I was running to my dressing room, and they were on me all the time. I had to take water pills to lose bloat. I don't know. It was they thought I was on cocaine, and I was actually just crying in the bathroom all the time. But Ted, on the Merv Griffin show, we were all on, the whole family, Audrey Meadows, everyone. And Deborah was last to come out, and then I was the very last person to come out. And they
Played
go,
your sister.
Deborah Von Vulcan, who played my sister Jackie. So they had Deborah out, and she was nervous. And Merv says, "So what was Ted Knight really like?" And Deborah goes, "Well, he was sort of a kinky dad, right?" And so there's Ted sitting down there already with Nancy Dussault and Audrey Meadows. Ted's wife is on the front row. Then Merv goes, "Whoa, we're going to wait until this commercial break, and we'll bring out the youngest member of the Rush family, Lydia Cornell." And then the commercial break. I'm in the green room with Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta, and I'm so nervous. And I walk out there, and then Merv says, "So, what did Deborah mean by kinky?" And I said, "Well, he likes to pull our blouses down and lift up our skirts and look down our bras all the time and throw spit wads into our bra. And then lift our dresses up." And I thought it was funny. I was trying to be funny. And there was dead silence.
So it didn't happen.
No, but he did do spit wads in our bra. He was funny and goofy. He'd go up to us and he'd just pull our bra strap. But I exaggerated it, and I said, "He likes to lift our dresses up." And you could have heard a pin drop. And Merv went, "Oh," and then Ted went like this. I saw this eyes of a demon looking at me, and everybody was quiet. And then suddenly they stopped tape, and they had to cut that out of the show.
Wow.
And that night, Deborah and I went home, and we sat together all night shaking, and we couldn't go to work the next day. We go to work the next day, and Ted, we went to his dressing room. We stood there waiting, and he comes to work, and he was very quiet. And he gets in the dressing room and he starts marching around like George C. Scott and Patton. And then he burst out laughing and he said, "It's okay, they cut the tape, they cut it out of the show."
So where was Nancy between you and Ted?
Having a nervous breakdown.
I mean, through the whole series, I mean, whose side did she take, or how did that work?
Is that because you heard some weird gossip from a lot
No,
of
I'm
people?
just wondering, because I know she's a sweetheart, and how tough it must have been for her too, because she doesn't like to hurt anybody's feelings, and no one wants to be in that situation. And let's be clear, whatever job you have in life, whether it's on TV or whether it's in some office at an accounting, not everybody gets along 24 hours a day, and I've said this before. So it's a very human thing. No one's bad or evil when they don't get along.
Oddly, I really just would have done the show for free. I was so in love with doing comedy, and once I got my rhythm, we couldn't stop giggling. We laughed all day long. We laughed so hard every day at work. Ted was hilarious to work with.
Sure. Very
We were all
talented.
scared of the producers on the run-through day. On Wednesdays when they'd come and do run-through, we'd be like little kids going, Ted would go, damn it, why do they have to come down and watch us in the middle of our week? You know, because we were still creative, and we didn't want to be watched. So we were all a gang. We were all a gang of thieves. We really were close. And we would play tennis at Ted's house. And we bonded a lot. Ted Knight and I were very close I was a little scared of him here and there, because he was kind of edgy.
Was he paternal to you as a father figure at times in real life?
Yeah, he was. But he'd give you that look, like, you're not supposed to be doing. And the one thing I remember when he came back from the very first week of the show, he had just finished doing Caddyshack with Rodney Dangerfield. So one of his big lines was, "While we're young," you know, Rodney Dangerfield would do, "While we're young," you know, on the golf course. And Ted would go, "While we're young." It was just a funny, you had to be there. He would rock back and forth and wait for the cameras because we were getting cold on the soundstage. And the one thing I knew that happened was the writers from Moonlighting were on our show, and they wanted to beef up the girls' parts. We had some really good chemistry, Jackie and I. We had great fight scenes.
And you're still very good friends with her today,
We're
correct?
very close. I wrote a movie that she stars in with me, Venus. She's a hilarious actress. And we're like sisters. And Jimmy and we're all very, very close. You heard the podcast, right? But Ted, what was I saying?
Well, now he got sick, correct? I mean, was
Ted got sick, and
was
no one
he,
knew.
And still, when it was Too Close for Comfort, or later on when it was the Ted Knight Show, was he sick already during the Too Close for Comfort years?
We never knew that. Apparently he was. Apparently he had a remission of cancer, prostate cancer. But he died a year later. When he died during the new show without us in it. It was called.
Ted Knight Show.
Ernie's face is so serious.
Ernie?
I'm looking at all of you. Yeah. Ted was a genius. He taught me to do a spit take. It's the hardest thing in the world.
Explain.
It's when you have a glass of orange juice to your mouth or a thing, and you suddenly hear it, and you go, you can't. I learned so many classic sitcom moves from him. It was wonderful.
Did he ever talk about the Mary Tyler Moore Show?
Yes, and Lou Grant, Ed Asner would come visit, Gavin McLeod would come visit. I did 6 Love Boats during that time. Every hiatus I was doing an Aaron Spelling show, or a Hunter, or A-Team, or Knight Rider, or Simon and Simon, and I was always working. But the Love Boats were a lot of fun, because Gavin was they all loved Ted.
And Ted was a captain on that show.
That's right.
Right, he
You
was
have
like-
such a great memory.
That wasn't what I studied before.
That's right.
No, but he
Yeah.
was, he was, and I think he was supposed, didn't he do the pilot? He was supposed to be the captain on that series, or something happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All right, so you leave, what years did you leave? to
86.
86.
86.
Okay, and then you started doing Knight Rider and other these guest spots, or
When
whatever?
did I do Knight Rider? That was when Hasselhoff and I did, it was a Christmas hiatus show. I did that during a Christmas break. During the show, during Too Close for Comfort, I think. Do you know the year I did Knight Rider? I can't
No, I don't.
I remember we were at Magic Mountain. I was always playing a race car driver in all those Stephen J. Cannell shows. I was like, and as Hunter, I had to drive a Ferrari, and the stunt woman actually wrecked the Ferrari. She was my twin. She looked just like me. So from then on, they wouldn't replace the door on the Ferrari, and they made me jump in and out of the car over the door, as if I was just that agile, you know. But a $90,000 car. And I played a Knight Rider, and in Dukes of Hazzard, I played a race car driver owner with my own pet monkey. Stephanie Kramer played my bodyguard from Hunter. Hunter, yeah.
She's a sweetheart.
And on Hunter, I played an assassin that fell in love with Hunter. And was I a race car driver on that? I had a big scene with a gun. Those were fun during those shows.
So now you've been very honest, you know, you certainly on your blogs and your writings over the years about your struggles. So
Thank you.
and that's an awesome thing, because this industry is not always, you know, doesn't always reward honesty. But that's one of the things I love about you, and that I've loved about all the guests that we've had in these last 4 weeks or 5 weeks is that, as I said a little bit too in the intro, you're such a down-to-earth person and you're a relatable person, which is really important when you do a TV show. You have to be likable. And there's the likable characters, and then there's the likable actors, and then the likable performances. And I brought this up in the past. Larry Hagman, when he played JR, that was an unlikable character, but his performance was likable.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and Genie, when you think of Genie, and what's his name,
Genie.
Tony Nelson, you don't think of JR, and when you watch JR, you don't think of Tony Nelson. That was a testament to his talent.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, you're likable as a person, and you're likable in your performances. So that's,
Thank you.
it's an amazing quality. And then you bring it on home, by being honest, and people sense that. And it actually was one of the reasons why Bewitched, I always have to go back to that. But
We love that book.
it's one of the reasons why Elizabeth Montgomery was so popular, is because she made witches likable and believable, because she was likable and believable. So,
Wow.
where does that innate ability to be honest and you're so unaffected? Where does that come from? I mean, your parents, your upbringing, what's that about?
Well, I think it comes from I spent a lot of time in this town. Suffering comes from maybe self-imposed suffering or finding your soul in a pornographic world. I had to actually go within, go deep inside, and figure out what makes an artist tick. What is my purpose in life? It's really to help other people. It's not about me. When you're self-centered, I had to get out of myself. My ego was so big it had an apartment of its own. Like a walk-in closet. I mean, I was like, every young woman here feels that. Every person whose looks of society we're in, it's devastating. We have to find that inner strength. And then if you find your creative gifts, you don't try to imitate anyone else. For me, it happened when I got sober in 1994. I had my baby. I had a catastrophic blackout at the top of the stairs, almost dropped my child down the stairs. And thank God, on the other side of that were a series of absolute spine-tingling miracles. Not religious miracles, but now I know the force of love is within all of us. And it will pick you up and lift you up if you stop fighting, worrying, and stop sticking around.
Well,
Your head's a bad neighborhood. That's all.
Why did you start drinking? What was the issue? What was the issue? Was it
the cover-up? It was a cover-up. It's interesting. Drinking is like numbing yourself from feelings. And there was a lot of pain. I remember I used to drink when I was writing my big Trotsky book. I wrote a big book on Stalin and Trotsky, and I was these ideas of becoming the great novelist, And I would go to this liquor store and pretend I had never had a drink before. I'd go, I've never tried malt whiskey. I'm having a cocktail party for my husband. And I didn't have a husband. I wasn't having a party, and it would just be like a way to escape and live another day in your dreams. And alcoholism is actually an illness. It's not really, it's an allergy and somewhat genetic component. It's not really a moral failing at all. In fact, it's an actual medical ailment. So you can't cure it with more alcohol. You can't fight fire with fire. You can't. It's interesting. I was thinking about Einstein's quote that no problem can be solved at the same level it was created on. You have to go to a higher solution, either a diplomatic or a spiritual solution. And the spiritual solution is actually a fellowship, surrendering, realizing you're a worker among workers, you're part of the human race, you're not special because you're an actor, you're not uniquely isolated. And I had to become I had to stop thinking I was a star, number one, and because that's a double-edged sword. You're never good enough, you're never thin enough, and you never have a small or big enough butt in this town.
So in 1994, what happened? Where did it all change and why?
That's part of my book. It's really interesting. I felt the biological clock ticking. I really wanted to have a family, and it was very difficult in this town to meet someone that you'd have to leave the town. You'd have to go somewhere else. I didn't know you could actually find your soul in Hollywood. In the shallowest place, you can actually become deep. And I guess Kristen walked away. Anyway, he's so precious. Oh, there he is. Today's my birthday, so I'm really excited that my son came all the way out here to see me. He's right there in the red shirt with the beret right
Hey, Mom.
Thanks for coming. Thank you. So anyway, I had a really bad night. It was a very funny, bizarre story. But I was trying to meet someone, and I was trying to date people that wanted children, and I was looking and looking and looking, and then I met someone that I fell in love with, and we have a child. But on the other end of that, I think I'll save all this for the book later. But anyway, I almost dropped him down the stairs in a blackout one night. I'd been up all night drinking. This is kind of a sober story. And in the morning, I could hear the doorbell ringing, and it was my mother coming over with my uncle. My mommy, I call her Mommy Dearest at the time. She was the most perfectionistic mother if you're not perfect looking at all times. Every hair in place. As a child, I was Little Miss Cotton. I was always told it's how you look that's important. And I'm really underneath it all, I'm gender neutral. In a weird way, I feel like all women are creative, all men are creative. I've always been a person that creates and thinks, and only going to romance movies is just something they've given us to do. I'm into adventure. I'm doing a show with some NASA scientists right now. I'm creating things, I'm inventing things. So it's not all about how you look, but that perfectionism, having to be a sex symbol and having to be perfect, it was pretty hard to keep up with as you age. And I was talking to a friend of mine who worked at Aaron Spelling, and she said that in the dailies, when they watched the show Charmed, the dailies on Charmed, Alyssa Milano and Rose McGowan, the men would sit there and they go, Rose McGowan, her thighs have cellulite today. What is she on her period? What's going on with these girls? They're not looking good today. And this is how they treat women behind the scenes. And even Deborah von Valkenburg, my co-star on Too Close for Comfort, she told me that she would never have done the sitcom we did, Too Close for Comfort, because she was a theater major and they wanted to do movies. Sitcoms were kind of low class at the time. And she said, Lydia, I got fired from a movie of the week by Chuck Freeze Productions because they said I was overweight and they were going to sue my agent for my weight gain. She's skinny. And I said, you're kidding. So these things, I filed them away, and they were kind of part of my, the reason I wrote the Venus Conspiracy movie. But all this adds up to being too much pressure. It's too much pressure for anyone in this day and age. On TMZ, apparently they zoomed in on Zac Efron's earwax. They show the cellulite sticking to car seats. It's like, you have to either laugh it off or not care how you look, and the time I was in, it was very difficult to make the transition to movies or to meet a normal guy that didn't look at you like a sex symbol. So my journey was kind of interesting. But then when I had this incident happen, I did not fall down the stairs in the blackout. I survived the staircase, and my mother came and they said, we're going to take your baby away from you if you don't get sober, get some help. And on the other end of that, some amazing things started to happen. It was magic. That's a whole.
So you've always been a spiritual person, or did it develop?
That's when it started. I didn't know that. I had a series of actual supernatural spine tingling. I call them God shots now with a small g because it's almost impossible to describe until I tell you the whole story. But I had so many unbelievable things happen, coincidences, synchronicity. I started studying Jung's synchronicity. That I realized there is a force greater than myself, that if I stop worrying and I go with the flow and I get my hands off my own life and get out of my own business too much and stop navigating and worrying and manipulating and scheming, and thinking about career, the material stuff, and relax, everything starts to fall into place. There's a beauty to the universe. And then it starts showing up for you. It's elastic to our thought, and it wants to interact with us and show off for us, and things start to actually manifest. So I have a whole beautiful story there. I haven't told anyone yet. But
Well, now, did you make a conscious decision to use your public persona, like I said in the intro, for the betterment of community, the world community, or did it just happen? Because Marlo Thomas, when she was doing That Girl, she grew up in a very privileged family. Daughter of Danny Thomas, a very successful actor or whatnot.
I love Marlo.
Oh, she's just
And
wonderful. That Girl's a great show. But she, it was during That Girl that she started realizing that her character was a very strong woman persona for feminism. But she really didn't know how to relate to anybody because she couldn't relate to the person on the street because she didn't know that life. So, did you wake up one day and say, I have to use my public persona to help others, or did it just happen, or what?
Well, it happened when I started doing public speaking in meetings, because I was speaking to 200 gay men, and they would all be laughing, and I realized...
Meetings?
Well, sobriety meetings at first, because it's 11 or 22 times a year I would speak and tell the story, the epiphanies and the amazing miracles, and just share my experience, strength and hope. But then on Facebook, oddly enough, a woman actually said, "You're so compassionate." I was actually trying to write the spiritual things I'd known all along were really healing to me. Whenever I'm in trouble, I would write down a Buddhist phrase or something beautiful I'd heard that would help. And I knew, I had this heart, my heart grew much bigger. It's funny, I used to say, I used to be an ego-driven tightwad, and then I became a civic-minded humanitarian. In other words, I was a Republican, and then I got sober. That was way back when the, don't record that. Now I'm in the middle of all that. I'm no longer political, but I just started seeing a lot of human suffering, and I started having more compassion and being less self-centered. Yes, it was a direct result of getting cleaned up, cleaning my...
So what was
psyche
going
up.
on in your career at this time? 94, 95, what was happening?
Having a baby, having my son. Career-wise, I started writing this crazy movie. It came out of me, it spilled out in a torrent, and it was prophetic in a weird way, and it was ahead of its time. And I remember being then incredibly scared to show it to someone. And I went to this woman at the Lad Company, and she said, I realized later she wasn't really a friend. She said, "Give me your script, I can't wait to read it." So it was a big, crazy, wild women's movie, Venus Conspiracy, about a pharmaceutical company called Venus, like Victoria's Secret, mixed with General Moods and Mood Swings and all these funny companies mixed together into one big conglomerate. And I said, "Whatever you do, Lisa, don't give this to the coverage department. Coverage is where they go to kill scripts, right?" So a week later, she goes, "Coverage just sent your script back." And I said, "Oh, really?" And I was like, I read the notes, and they were horrible. It was a young 21-year-old intern, summer intern named David Deutsch. I'll never forget his name. He's probably somewhere in this world. And he goes, "Why would any woman that's attractive have any problems? Women don't, I don't want to see a woman protagonist." It was very misogynistic. And I literally went into the hospital the next day for a CAT scan and a spinal tap. I got this brain flu. It affected me so deeply. Writing is really my deepest passion because it's your soul on the page.
Well, now, Michael Eisner, do you recall that quote just a couple weeks ago where he said, "Beautiful women, it's very difficult to be funny and beautiful
Yeah.
for women." What do you think of that? What do you think of what he
Boy,
said?
is
And what
he wrong. Oh my God. Melissa McCarthy, Amy Schumer, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. I love funny women. I think women are rising up there.
So where was he coming from when he said that? What was that about?
Well, he's talking about, and look, Sarah Silverman's hilarious and beautiful.
True.
I just don't think he's educated. He has not been around the block. He's not aware. And it's an old, look, I really did want to be Sid Caesar and Woody Allen, and I love Jack Benny, and all the greats were males. And if you watch Mad, 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 Mad World, my favorite comedy, right?
Oh my gosh, it's my
Sean.
least favorite movie ever. Isn't that funny?
Yes, it's your least favorite?
My least favorite
Well,
movie.
growing up was my favorite. Okay, but come on. Ethel Merman, Buddy Hackett, Mickey Rooney, Dick Shawn. Oh my God. But the women weren't funny in that movie, really. It was the men.
So
Rob
you were.
Lowe. Ethel Merman was perfect.
So you were just inspired by guys. You did not. You
I
did
wanted
not-
to be a male Jewish comic.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. I really did. I thought, I write just as funny as Larry Gelbart. brilliant. Should I say it? Gary's dad.
My stepdad.
Gary's stepdad was Larry
My
Gilbert.
stepdad. 2009.
So sorry that he passed away. One of my favorites. Genius, yeah. So,
Well, let's. Why don't we open the floor a little
Yeah.
bit here? To thank you for that, by the way. That was lovely, honest, and sweet,
Thank
and
you.
all of those wonderful things that you are. So, okay. Any questions for Lydia? Across the board, right?
yeah, anything.
Oh, here, I'll ask one.
Okay.
Lydia, if you were a therapist, I'd pay you. That's number one.
Thank you.
You have like this real, sort of, to me, your artistry, you have a real restless artistic spirit. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And I just wanted to compliment you. I really have nothing to say. I just wanted to say I enjoyed this. I loved listening to what you were talking about.
Thank you.
And honestly, is there anything going on as far as public speaking to arts groups and kids and things like that?
There will be as soon as I can get out from under taking care of my parents.
Got it.
I want to be with
Right.
them, but I have to be in two places at once. And then I'm starting, when the book is ready, which it will be a very deep tragedy to comedy book, The Roller Coaster. It's actually hiding my brain in my bra and then taking my brain out of my bra and flinging my bra over my head, or maybe not. No, I'm kidding. It's a series of stories. So then I'll go on a book tour and I'll probably start the whole. I was going to say that on Facebook I started sharing all this stuff. And a woman called me and said, I'm dying of liver cancer. Will you please take my child?
Wow.
And I started almost being too available to people and calling them, and I sent her money for her kid's birthday. A lot of people during the recession were going through the crash, and we all did it together. I went through divorce, and I shared it out loud in a Ustream interactive show, and I got so many loving, wonderful fans that just wanted to share their experiences. And it became kind of a funny, it's a great way to relate to people. The books don't have to be only hardcover. You can share your story any way you want. But that's what opened me up a little too much. And then I had a stalker the past 3 years, which is the subject of another show I'm creating with some girlfriends.
So you have to temper it. You have to temper it.
You have to
learn
temper
that.
it.
Oprah had the same experience. You know, when she first got her super success, you know, people would always ask her for money or help pay for school, and at some point she just had to learn to say no.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and because you got to take care of yourself. If you can't help everybody. You can teach other people how to help themselves, but
Right.
my gosh, you have to take care of yourself. The whole oxygen, put oxygen on you first before you.
Yes.
Yourself first before.
Exactly. Right.
Okay, some other questions? Yes.
So what was it like directing the movie that you directed? I mean, as far as artistic fulfillment went, as compared to when you're acting in something?
Fantastic. It was the most fulfilling thing I've done in years. In fact, other than writing my own material and performing it the way I want to do someday again, I had a vision. It was a little short film, but it's a mafia movie, brilliant script with a twist ending. It's called It's My Decision, and it's winning some awards. And I had a vision. I just sat down and I thought about my favorite scenes in restaurants. Jack Nicholson, 5 Easy Pieces, the restaurant scene with the toast. And Al Pacino, and I knew the location, we'd already had the location picked out. And I saw a face in my mind's eye of a great Dean Martin face. Johnny Cosmo was a friend of ours. And it was almost organic. It just came to me. And they all went, that's perfect. So I was really lucky, and I got my way, because I had a great DP, and he saw the rack photo. He knew it. I don't really know all the terminology, and I haven't gone to school, and Ernie's making a little grin. But and Gary's a director too. But as far as visually, it was like painting a painting, and I got what I wanted because I had a great DP.
Nice.
It was fun. It was really fun. Yeah.
More questions? Don't be
You
shy.
talked about,
Yes.
I got here a bit late, but did you talk about your audition when you went in for
The raspberry audition,
Yeah,
yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah. That was the first thing we did.
No, I never got the whole story.
It'll be on video.
Yeah.
I'll tell you personally. Yeah.
Frank? Oh, yes, sir.
I was going to ask the directing question. She actually
Okay.
gave me to it. You know, when you were saying that, you and Ted Knight and others in the cast, were laughing every day, and there was just so much laughter, and he was so funny. You're so funny. I'm curious about, was he in character? Because his whole shtick, his persona became so much, I could never separate it from him.
Yeah, you're right.
And so did he keep doing that thing from Ted Knight from the Mary Tyler Moore Show?
No. He loved having Jim Bullock play the moron. He needed a punching bag, like he was one on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He played the ditzy, Dumbo. Egotistical dumbass on the
The
Mary
radio
Tyler.
announcer voice and the
Yeah.
whole announcer school.
No. On our show, he was extremely Patton-like. He was very gruff and kind of. He never played the dummy, but he was the dummy at times.
Well, I'd have to say too, it's similar to the Larry Hagman thing. When I would watch Too Close for Comfort, I really didn't think of the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And then if I would watch Mary Tyler Moore in reruns, I wouldn't think of Too Close for Comfort. So I think he did
a great job.
a good job in creating two. Do you see that? Yes?
Yeah, he deliberately wasn't the idiot on our show. We were. I was, Jimmy was. But Ted was funny in a different way. Yeah, I think we were supposed to be the funny ones. He was the straight man, more or less.
Yes.
Well, happy birthday again.
Thank you.
Always been a fan of Too Close for Comfort, but I wondered, Christ Nail is one of my favorite episodes with you and Larry David.
Oh, thank you.
And that scene in the bra store in the Victoria's Secret, my favorite, one of my favorite all time. Tell us what it was like to work on that.
Oh my
Larry.
God, that was so. Well, the director was a friend of mine, the producer Robert B. Whitey, Viaduct Productions, and he said, "Come on in and read with Larry." And I went, "Oh, read with Larry? What do you mean?" And he goes, "There's no script. You're going to get a little piece of paper. And all I can tell you is she works in a bra store, period. End of it." And I just written this movie with this log line was all human suffering is caused by Victoria's Secret. And I decided, I'll make her a Victoria's Secret salesperson. I had to come in with that idea. And then all he did was he came into the audition at Lucasfilm and there's this little piece of paper, Larry comes in to buy a bra, and I had to read with him on camera in the audition. So he comes in and I go, "Hi, can I help you?" And he said, "I'm here to buy a bra." He said, "For my maid." He did it that way. And I said, "Oh, do you know her size? Is she a handful or half a handful? Cantaloupe or what?" I don't know. I did something like cantaloupe, watermelon. He loved that. I got the part based on that. And then we go in to film the actual thing, and David Brenner was there. And who directed that day? It was David Brenner directing it. And we were at a Victoria's Secret store, which was interesting because I didn't tell him that's what I was envisioning. And he comes in, and it was really, really interesting. It's all improv. You don't get any script. There's no lines. And I just sort of surrendered to it and I wasn't nervous. And he comes in and he starts touching the fabric. And I said, we went through the bra thing, and I go, "It's for a maid?" I said, "You want a French maid outfit?" And all this. And then he goes, "How come they don't make this for men?" I went, "Oh, feel free to go try it on." He loved that. He loved that I thought he was a drag queen. Now he might get in trouble with Caitlyn Jenner, but yeah.
So funny,
And
right?
he
He's
loved
just
that.
so.
He
Talk about a genius, right?
Genius and generous. He wants the actors. It's really cool because he gets a writer and an actor for the same price, though. There's no script, but
And the character of George on Seinfeld
David.
is Dave.
Yeah. I
Correct.
want to interview Larry Thomas.
I want to save him for next week. Would you come back next week? We're doing 90s. Would you come back and you be my
Yes.
special guest?
What's the
I'm
date?
coming.
Thursday.
You're coming.
Next Thursday.
Next
30th.
Yes.
Okay, let's have a hand. He'll be here next Thursday. Right here.
Sorry,
I
Larry.
wrote a book too, so we can talk about.
Oh, is it out?
Yeah.
Could we order it and then have it ready for you to sign?
Sure.
Wow, okay, that
they
was
sell
easy.
it online, Barnes and Noble, but it's not here.
But we can get it
Oh,
here
let's
by
get
next
it.
Thursday.
It's like our whole lives is virtual life.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, okay. All right, next week, 7 o'clock. Be there.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus is also one of the funniest women ever. Oh my God,
Just love
Elaine.
her. I love her. I love
How can
that.
they say there are no funny women?
Oh,
Well, he
God.
said
Why would
no
Michael
funny.
Eisner say that?
It was like it was like he was trying to make a compliment, but just
Yeah, he
failed
just-
utterly.
Failed utterly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he meant it either. Correct.
Well, nowadays you can't say one word without the.
That's why I'm
The
off
entire
Facebook
world is like the
and on
Gestapo.
Facebook.
Right.
I'm off it. I'm on it. I'm off it. I'm on it. You know, it's just because I'm also obsessive compulsive. And, you know, I never get any work done.
Yeah.
The posting.
Nobody
I don't know.
does
I don't know how you do it because you're amazing. He's got
You're
like
on Facebook all the time?
5,000.
Not all the time, no.
And he's
I'm also a writer. I actually
He's a
for
writer.
Herbie a few weeks ago. I had my book here.
He's my sub.
Oh,
I'm his son, like you just said.
That's your
Herbie.
son?
Sub,
That's my
sub.
son.
Sub. I thought you said son. I said son. So there you go.
All right. Any other questions here?
Can
Yes.
you talk about John Ritter?
Oh my God, I love John Ritter. I can't believe he passed away so young.
What show was he doing while you were?
The follow-up to Three's Company with,
Three's a Crowd.
yeah, with his wife, Mary, who owned Mary Catering Company. All I know is that we had her cater a few. The actress who was his wife was also a caterer.
Really?
In real
life? Wow.
You should always have another career if you're an actor.
Wow.
And they play
And she did it while she was doing the show. So she, what? Wait, she'd staff up the show with food and then come in.
No. But the prop people on our show have the best food backstage. That's really tempting. All day long you have snack food backstage. And they cater to you, like we're all children. And they go, what do you want for your little snacks? And they have red licorice and tacos and fudge sickles. And
It's a great combination.
that's so adorable.
Very helpful. Was it at Paramount?
Our show was filmed at KTLA. And then, all I know, the Solid Gold dancers were right next to it. Remember Solid Gold?
I was a stand-in dancer at Solid Gold.
Yes, Herbie, I remember
For-
you. The big go-go boots?
That's true story. I don't know how it happened.
You really were?
For like 3 days, yeah. I needed the money.
No way!
Standing,
Oh my
look,
God.
one of the dancers was from Rochester, and my cousin was one of the producers. And
Wow.
they needed someone to lip sync Marlon Jackson's, Michael's brother. He was doing a song, and I didn't know the song, and I lip synced it to words I didn't know, and then I danced. Anyway, enough about me. So, any other questions here? Yes.
You know, after you she left Too Close for Comfort and the show continued for another couple of years, I don't recall, how did they write you out?
Oh.
You know,
Yeah,
and I think personally, I thought, I didn't really watch the show after that,
Thank
after you guys left. And it just went downhill as far as I was concerned. And
It was a different show.
it
It
was a
wasn't
different
the
show.
same
They brought
show.
in,
Pat Carroll was in it,
yeah,
and Lisa
yeah.
and Teal played the maid, and they moved to a different.
It
They
wasn't
were
in
in a
front of a
beef
live
with us.
audience either, was it? They didn't do the Ted Night Show in front of a live
I don't
audience.
remember that at all. Lainey Kazan was in a pilot that we did with. We did a couple pilots at the end. Arnie Sultan started to get eye cancer, and he died a year after Ted died, I think. And then another producer came on. Aaron, what's his name?
Ruben?
Ruben, yes. You're the historian. You would know this. And it was like they
I
didn't
can't
value
count,
the girls.
but I knew a bit.
Well, I was telling you, the Moonlighter writers, the Moonlighting, Jeff Reno and Ron Osborne came on the show. They were brilliant, and we could not believe how funny they were. And they were writing better parts for the girls. And then suddenly, Ted was furious. He didn't want us to have our own spin-off. The network was thinking about that. And the minute that we were too funny together, they put the kibosh on that, and then Nancy decided to have a baby, and they wrote in a show about her having a baby. And they made the show more crazy, more silly, antics with the piano mover, and then they had the famous rape episode. The infamous episode where Jim Bullock got raped by two big women. It's never been aired again. It's only been aired once. So
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, yeah. We get a lot of mail about
Wait,
that
now, it
show.
was based on a British sitcom, wasn't it?
Keep It in the Family, Brian Cook.
Which is, what they did a lot. I mean, All in the Family, Sanford and Son, Three's Company, were all based on Brit comics.
Yeah. So we were kind of we were dispensable at one point. And I was even written out of an early episode because my managers, oh my God. I was telling you I would have done the show for free. They were trying to negotiate more money behind my back, which was normal for a manager. I was getting 20%. And I had an agent I was paying 10% to and a business manager 5%, right? And I just bought my first home in Bel Air. And my managers were telling everyone, Lydia's the star of the show. They were demanding more money, and behind my back they were using that kind of language. And all I wanted was to just keep my job and do the show for free. And I didn't, apparently it was true, I was getting all this fan mail that the secretaries, later they told me they kept it in closets locked away so no one would see. They would answer my fan mail for me. And they would hand out equal amounts of fan mail to all of us, like 5 letters each per week or something. Or whatever, 20 each. And they go, but we're answering yours in secret, we're not allowed to give it to you. And I went, really? And later I found out if the producers thought I was too big for my head, I would do a Suzanne Summers. They were afraid I would pull that number because they also produced Three's Company. So all this came out later. But because they thought I was trying to demand more money, I was written out of one of the shows with Robert Mandan, the one where Ted's brother comes to visit. So I was crying, going to work, going, why is this happening? Not knowing that that was going on, and everyone was hostile toward me. And then Nancy Dussault and I had a little beef because I was so nervous on the set. I was looking above everyone's head instead of into their eyes. It was really scary. And then Jim Bullock, I was extremely nervous that whole year. I remember it being a very painful experience. It was the second year of the show. I was even painting my teeth with liquid paper. I thought it was 4 teeth whiteners. Trying to look like Farrah. We survived that horrible year, and then everything went back to normal. And no one got raises, and then we were all canceled in the 3rd year. And then Metro Media picked us up along with Fame. We became the first TV series to be first-run syndication.
From network to syndication.
Yeah.
But did they ever, when they went to the Tonight Show, they ever explain what happened to you? They just.
You mean in the actual? I never watched the season after.
Yeah, I mean, it was just all of a sudden it was like you just disappeared. You
Yeah,
were
we
never
disappeared.
there.
They did that on the Doris Day Show. The Doris Day Show is the only show in history that every season was different. And then she had kids up until the 3rd season, and in the 4th season she was single. She, it was in the same apartment, but the kids were gone. They were gone. So those things happen.
But the year I came into the show, I was doing. I did a movie in the Greek Isles with James Earl Jones and Jose Ferrer, where I had to swim and die and drown, and it was really funny because I didn't want to do nudity, and the wardrobe lady, we were under a big rock in the Aegean Sea, and she said, I couldn't speak Greek, but I kept saying, no naked, no naked. And they wanted me to look like I'm driving into the ocean topless. So she came up with this brainstorm to put zinc oxide all over me, white zinc oxide. So the underwater cameras in the ocean couldn't do any revealing topless shots.
You mentioned Hunter, and that was another one of my favorite shows. And,
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I loved it. And I remember that episode that you were on. And
On a boat, right?
well, but
Actually on the
And a
boat.
Ferrari.
you fell in love with him, or there was a love thing going on, and you went up to a cabin.
Lake Malibu, we filmed.
Was that okay? Anyway.
Yeah, you remember
I
that?
remember
I was
that,
standing
yeah.
on a huge apple cart because he was 6'7".
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. And wearing a body stocking. We had to sleep. It was a big sex scene for TV. Our show was extremely risque in those days because we actually had the sound of toilets flushing. Or things were illegal in those days. You weren't allowed to have a couple in the same bed. Were you?
Well, I think the Brady Bunch, Mike and Carol Brady and the Brady Bunch were the first couple to sleep in the same bed. Human couple, but actually Samantha and Darren were the first.
Oh, really? Samantha and Darren?
But it was okay because she was a witch. So it's like, oh no, it's all right. She's not really human.
You're
So
serious?
it's okay for her to be in the same bed.
Oh my God, that's funny.
And they did a lot of things that other shows couldn't do because of that. So, any other questions here? Yes. Oh, come on.
I have a question.
Oh, hi.
Who are your female idols?
She doesn't have any.
Okay.
I mean, you were inspired by guys.
Oh, that's interesting. No, I have some
Or
female
like Carol
icons.
Burnett? I mean, are you-
Carol Burnett, absolutely. I love
Lily
Carol
Tomlin,
Burnett.
or-
Julie Andrews. Haley Mills, I told you, but that was before anyone's time.
Well, what was it about Carol and Julie?
And Olivia Hussey. I met her at an autograph show, and I'm like, if I were gay, I would have. She was the most beautiful in Romeo and Juliet. Franco Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet. Werewolf London?
American Werewolf, is that right?
No.
That was a big-
Michelle Pfeiffer I liked. Meryl Streep is definitely one of my favorites, and Helen Mirren. And Gina Davis, because she's now working to bring up the status of women in the industry.
What's her organization? What is
It's called the Institute, Gina Davis Institute, for Gender Media Equality.
Yes, sir, in the back.
I have a question. I got here late, so did they sing Happy Birthday to you yet?
No, not yet.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Absolutely, we'll do that.
Right now?
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lydia. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, look it over here. Look what we got here. We got you a card.
Oh, how beautiful.
What a nice surprise.
Oh my God, what a great surprise.
We'll do them after you're finished.
Thank you.
That seemed the time to do it,
This
right?
is a great birthday. I was really nervous today and stressed driving with that rapper next to me on the way here. No air
It was a
conditioning.
pre-interview story.
Yes.
So Lydia, when you were doing Curb Your Enthusiasm, you were so natural.
Thank
I just
you.
turned it on and you were there. I didn't know you were going to be on it.
Thank
And
you.
you were just, you know, I mean, you just went along with that whole method that they have of just it seeming so real and so unscripted and so believable. And so how do they, I mean, do they shoot many takes of it and then see what they like or edit them together? I mean, I can never figure out how they put it together, you know, where they...
Was there an outline? Right?
Well, were they doing like a lot of takes and finding it during the multiple takes?
Oddly enough, with ours, there hardly any. Maybe 2 takes. It was too easy. It was like, what?
Really?
He loved that one thing I did, and he was just wanted to run with that. He loved that I embarrassed him and made him feel, you know.
Sure, that was
And
a
I
show.
didn't even get to do my cantaloupe watermelon line. I was so looking forward to the. Is she a handful or half a handful?
Excess of riches there.
But thank God, if you're an actor and you're not a good listener, the main thing about acting is being a listener. Listen to the other person. Don't jump the line. Don't think of your line in advance because you can see your mind. You have to be surprised by what the other person's saying. And he shocked me when he went, "This feels good." And I went, I don't know what made me say that, but I was in the moment. It's being very present as an actor that you
Talk
need to-
about your stage
you.
plays.
My stage
What,
plays.
Shakespeare.
Oh,
Othello.
interesting. I wrote, well, I played Desdemona, actually. And I also did play a torchbearer. My best friend in high school and I were just standing behind holding torches. That was our first acting experience. on
But then
stage.
you did a play in Spanish. You
Yes, I
right?
did Los árboles mueren de pie. Vivido Paso, Texas, Junto a Juárez, acá aprendí español desde niña edad de 12. Does anyone speak Spanish?
Wow.
Okay,
What'd she
I'm
say?
fluent because I was raised in El Paso, Texas. And then I moved to Scarsdale, New York when I was 11. So I went from speaking Wad and then to Voidical. And everything in New York is squished together in Voidical. And I realized the reason people speak wider in the West is the states are wider. Wide out there. This is a joke I'm working on for some time. But it's true. I couldn't figure. Everybody in New York is like squeezing into thin apartments and, you know, tall, hurried lives. And out west they talk like that. Anyway, I had to. But I loved growing up in the desert of El Paso. It was right on the border of Juarez. So that's where, and it's almost like Miami. It's a bilingual city, so you learn Spanish in kindergarten, which is really lucky. I'm very grateful.
What is your background? Your heritage?
I'm Russian and Irish. We aren't big drinkers at all. My mother's Irish Welsh, and my dad was born in Russia and grew up in Shanghai. And he was just like the movie Empire of the Sun.
Yeah.
He was a violinist in Shanghai, and just as he was going to come to America, he was admitted to the most amazing music school here. I think it wasn't Juilliard, it was the other one. And the communists came and shut the city down, and he had to stay in China for 10 more years. And so finally made it out and came to California, went to Berkeley, taught music, met my mother at the Hollywood Bowl. It was really, Russian. But he spoke Chinese fluently and Russian. So, any other Russians in the room?
You speak Russian too?
Очень хорошо. Как поживаете? Я понимаю по-русски немножко. Дай мне сахар, пожалуйста. Pass the sugar, please. Дай мне масло, пожалуйста. That's all I can say. Pass the butter and pass the sugar.
That's important.
Yeah. That's really important. Any other showbiz questions about?
What about memorizing? How do you?
Okay.
Is that hard? Do you find memorizing scripts?
I memorize things. The way we worked on our show, as all sitcoms, we were a sitcom that worked Monday through Friday. We taped Friday night. 2 shows, one after a 1 o'clock show with no audience and a 6 o'clock show in the evening with an audience. I used to hate coming out and being introduced in front of the audience. I would
Available
love.
bookseller line 1, available bookseller line 1.
But memorizing was easy because we were working with props and walking around, so you would know you're blocking. The director would block the scenes. For me, it's always been very interesting. I see letters and numbers in color, so I found out I have a thing called synesthesia, which is an actual brain disorder, but it can be a gift because I see Monday's yellow, Tuesday's dark green, Wednesday is white gray with stripes, Thursday's root beer colored, and Friday's forest green. So,
I'm laughing because I see things as lines. Sunday is high.
Oh, Sunday's high.
Monday's like this.
Yes.
Tuesday's like this. Wednesday's like that.
Wow.
Thursday's like this.
Sunday
Friday's
and
like
Saturday
that.
are
And then
tall.
Saturday's.
That's weird.
What is that
That's
called?
a great question.
It's synesthesia.
That's the same thing?
So I can memorize, like the letter M is always yellow, so Monroe, Montana,
It's by color.
Mary, they're yellow, and so it's easy to memorize if you know, if you think in color. I think it's some sort of weird anomaly.
I want to develop that.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but what can I do with mine? What do I do with that? Sunday, Monday?
You're going to be an architect in your second line.
Okay.
Build a building. No, that's cool though, because it means
I see that.
January to me is burgundy, and also it has a big final. I don't know what that means. Sunday's tall.
I'm a little worried now.
Does anyone else have?
Yes, sir.
Quentin.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Brian Wilson also suffers from synesthesia as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the brilliant Brian Wilson.
Cool. David Hockney has it, I think.
I got here just as we sang the birthday song, so you may have covered all your relationships with Ted. And that experience, yes. Yeah.
Not everything, but go ahead.
Well, no, there's a number of actors I'm curious about. George Papard, William Shatner, obviously on Curb, Larry David, and Ted Knight.
Yeah, I worked with some great actors.
So what is your experience with them? What's like? What's different?
Larry David was hilarious. William Shatner, I did T.J. Hooker, and I didn't even remember I'd done the show when I met him at his wife's funeral. And then we went on a date a couple weeks later, and he made me laugh so hard, William Shatner. He's really wonderful and funny. And everyone I know wants to meet William Shatner.
I have.
Yeah? What's
Don't
he
meet
like?
your idols.
You made a face.
I've met him.
Well,
He was dating right after the funeral?
I always say he picked me up at his wife's funeral, but not really. No. Just kidding. It was just a friend date. It was a friend date to discuss her sobriety because it was scary what happened to her. She cracked her head in the swimming pool. But everyone blamed him. He was a really great guy, I thought, William Shatner. Nobody likes William Shatner.
Oh, I love William Shatner.
He's a great actor.
So, yeah.
He's hilarious in real life. He brought starch blockers to the dinner. And he proceeded to eat so much bread, and he buttered his sleeve, and the bread fell down his sleeve.
Yeah, he's
We
very
just ended up
unkept
laughing.
and curt.
We
Very
laughed.
unkept.
He's very funny. Yeah. If you're funny, that is the biggest turn on to me. That's probably why I love working with Ted Knight. He was hilarious to work with. We would be giggling all day. On Mondays, we couldn't even get to work at all. And by 2 p.m., we'd be on Goats and Sheep. A lot of conversations about sex. It was always about sex on the show. How's your sex life? And, really perverted stuff. That's how it is on a sitcom. John Ritter would visit and pop in every now and then. It was wonderful seeing him.
And John started out on.
Remember what show he started out before he did these
Waltons.
companies? Waltons.
The
yeah.
Waltons?
Yeah, he was a reverend. He was the Waltons reverend. It's true.
Oh, interesting. I worked with a guy named Linwood Boomer. Linwood Boomer created Malcolm in the Middle. But when I first came to Hollywood, I worked at Samuel Goldwyn Studios for Jack Webb, who created Dragnet. And I was working in the office upstairs with Georgie Sherman, a very miniature short producer, really cute little. He directed a lot of Jane Mansfield movies and some John Wayne films. And he and I started working on the Trotsky book together, because he had the original photographs of the Trotsky murder. And so we would peek out the window and look at Jack Webb every day. We'd walk out with a red shirt and red socks and curse up a storm and smoke. And then this guy came in as a Xerox copy boy, and his name was Linwood Boomer, and we talked about our dreams of becoming an actor. Actors. Next thing I know, I get Too Close for Comfort. He gets Little House on the Prairie. He played the blind preacher. And then later we had a Love Boat together where we were lovers, or boyfriend and girlfriend. Does anyone remember Linwood Boomer in the Love Boat?
Yeah. Same bed.
It's a small world, anyway. It was fun, because I remember him sitting there and we were working on a movie with Lana Turner, Leslie Nielsen, who just had his whoopee cushion. He was experimenting on everyone in the... Does anyone remember Leslie Nielsen?
Oh, yeah.
Naked Gun.
Naked Gun movies, and he was always, that thing he would squeeze that sounded like a...
Gas.
I won't say the word. I won't say the word. I don't like the F word.
Raspberry. What was Lana Turner?
Yeah.
She was playing Little Mo, Maureen Connolly. It was the story of Little Mo, the tennis great. And she played her mother. And we did hair tests on her. We dyed her hair brown. She was very sweet, very demure. But they replaced her with someone else. They fired her.
Oh, my, really?
They fired Lana Turner.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm just remembering all this right now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever do another sitcom?
Yeah, I'm writing one, Hiding My Brain in My Bra. It's gonna be.
Oh, that's going to be a sitcom. Okay.
Would you?
Well, it'll be more like, The Office or 30 Rock or Arrested Development. My favorite, Arrested Development. Kind of really zany, but it's all really true stories, so I have to figure out a way to make it. I want to direct it. Cast it.
When you guested on the A-Team, working with Dwight Schultz, Dirk Benedict, Mr. T, and George Peppard, what was that like?
Oh my God, it was so much fun. I had a crush on Dwight Schultz. They were really fun. All my scenes were with him. David Hemmings directed that, and he was a famous British actor in a movie called Blow Up.
Yes.
Michael Antonioni. What's his name?
Antonioni.
Was it Antonioni?
Antonioni.
Michelangelo.
So David Hemmings was this amazing British. He cast me in 4 different things, all action shows with race car driving things, and I had a big stunt scene in that, where, a helicopter had to land almost near my head. So he goes, do you want a stunt person or not? And I said, no, I'll do it myself. Bad move, because it was scary, The helicopter came really low, and I was supposed to hang on to it. They cut that scene out. But in the Hunter episode, he directed me also. No, James Whitmore Jr. did that one. But I had to dive into the lake, and they had no stairs to get out of the boat. They said, do you want a stunt person? I said, no. And I did my own stunts, and I had to dive into an ice cold lake, and then swim and get out. And they had a camera right on my butt trying to get out of the boat, and I struggled. I couldn't get up on the boat. It was embarrassing.
You're pretty athletic, though, aren't you? I mean, I think you were on Battle Network Stars, too, weren't you?
Oh, shut up!
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Howard Cosell yelling, Cornell cannot get the kayak. I was capsizing the kayak. William Shatner refused to get wet. And Joan Collins didn't want to either, and so it was up to me and Heather, one of the 2 Heathers.
Available book load to Cash App, please. Available book load to
Heather
Cash App.
Thomas is a good friend of mine right now.
She's also recovering.
Love her.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. She's great.
She had a horrible accident a couple years ago. She broke her legs or something. I remember that. I mean, she was out for
Oh,
a
I didn't
while.
know that.
Yeah, it was traumatic.
Yeah, that was really embarrassing. Val and I were stars. It wasn't, I could not, I was so nervous, I didn't know how to do the cut. Did you see that?
Well, that was neat because it allowed celebrities to show that they're real people. That was the great thing about that.
Too
show.
real. Yeah, it was really. What do you guys think of reality TV now?
Don't like it.
Nobody likes it?
Don't like it.
Does anyone admit to watching it?
It's good for improvising.
Yeah.
You don't have to memorize scripts.
That's true.
It's not even improvised though.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, where is the boom mic in Naked and Afraid? 'Cause I have friends that think it's real. I'm like, how are you hearing that? You're not wearing a lavalier, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Where is the boom mic?
It's right near craft services.
Funny.
It's a way for them to save money on scripted shows.
It's just a way to save money, right?
And where did it started with real people, kind of like in the 70s, and then Survivor brought it all back in 2000 or 1999, and then it just all just went.
Oh, the Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions?
I have.
Okay.
As a member of the tribe, who's your favorite Jewish comic?
My favorite Jewish comic, pre-Sun Yi, it was Woody Allen, and Sid Caesar, and Milton Berle, and Bob Hope isn't Jewish. Groucho.
Groucho's
Who's my favorite Jewish male comic? Me.
Well, I say we have some cake and have everybody get a chance to maybe take a couple pictures with you. Would you mind
Yeah,
that?
that'd be great.
Lydia, thank you so very much.
Thank
You're just really, just a sweetheart, and I meant everything that I said in that intro. You're so just down to earth, and you are everything that someone in the public eye should be. You take your public position very seriously, and yet you don't take yourself seriously. You take your life seriously. You take your work seriously. You don't take yourself seriously.
Thank
and
you.
You're just a delight. And thank God you're here, and the world is a better place because
Thank
of
you,
you.
Herbie. You're so wonderful.
All true.
Great birthday. I'm so grateful.
Did you celebrate today? Did you do anything fun?
I will now. This is it. Yeah, my family's here, my good friends. And this is such a sweet gift. Thank you. I really love you all. Thank you so much.